In 1847, two maternity wards sat side by side inside the same hospital in Vienna. They shared the same building, the same equipment, the same city. One of them had a death rate 5 times higher than the other. Women who knew this begged to be admitted to the other ward. Some gave birth in the street rather than enter the wrong door. Nobody who ran the hospital thought that was strange. The ward with the higher death rate was staffed by doctors. The other was staffed by midwives. The doctors were better trained, better paid, and more respected. They were also, without knowing it, killing the women in their care. Every single day. For years. One man figured out why, and this is not the interesting part of this story. Ignaz Semmelweis arrived at Vienna General Hospital in 1846 as a young Hungarian physician, ambitious and precise. He was assigned to the first obstetrical clinic, the doctor-staffed ward. Within weeks, he notices what the women on the street already knew. His ward killed people at a rate that should have been a scandal. Ward 2, run by midwives, did not. He did what any rigorous scientist would do. He started eliminating explanations. Was it overcrowding? No. Ward 1 was less crowded. Was it the position women gave birth in? He changed it. Made no difference. Was it psychological? The shame of being examined by male doctors? He tested that too. He couldn't make the numbers move. Then, in 1847, a colleague named Jacob Kolecka died. Kolecka had been accidentally cut by a student's surgical tool during an autopsy. He developed a rabbit infection and died within days. The symptoms were identical to child fever, the illness killing women in Ward 1. Semmelweis stopped. He thought about what doctors did that midwives did not. Doctors came to deliveries directly from the autopsy room. They dissected cadavers and then, without washing, moved to examine pregnant women. Midwives never touched cadavers. Midwives never went near the morgue. He had his answer. Something from the corpses was traveling on doctors' hands into the bodies of women giving birth. He didn't know what to call it. Germ theory didn't exist yet. He called it cadaverous particles, but he knew what it was doing. In May 1847, he ordered everyone in his ward to wash their hands in a chlorinated lime solution before touching patients. The mortality rate in Ward 1 dropped from around 10% to below 2% within months. The data was unambiguous. The experiment had worked. He published, he presented, he waited for the profession to respond. The response came. It was not what he expected. The leading obstetricians of Europe reviewed his findings and rejected them. Their objections were not irrational. They were, in fact, constructed with considerable intellectual care. First, the theory violated everything they understood about disease. In 1847, the dominant medical framework held that illness arose from internal imbalances, bad air inhaled, constitutional weakness, disruptions in the body's natural fluids. The idea that disease could travel invisibly on a physician's hand had no theoretical foundation. It was not that they looked at Semmelweis's data and dismissed it. It was that the data provided by Semmelweis did not fit inside their existing framework. The second reason they rejected it is that the implication was professionally catastrophic. If Semmelweis was right, then doctors had been killing their patients for decades, not through negligence or malpractice, but through the ordinary practice of their profession. The men reading his papers had those same hands. They had delivered thousands of children. They did not wash first. Accepting his conclusion meant accepting that their entire careers had been conducted inside an ongoing disaster they had caused. Among those people who rejected the theory were Edward Chanzoni, who publicly called the theory dangerous and also Karl Braun, who published an alternative explanation for World I's mortality, listing chlorine, among other causes, as a more plausible reason than unwashed hands. Semmelweis watched this happen. Then he watched his contract with the hospital expire. He was not renewed. He returned to Budapest, where he continued his work and his mortality rates remained low. He wrote letters. He wrote a book. The letters grew longer and more desperate. By 1861, he was writing to European obstetricians, calling them murderers, because by his calculation, they were continuing to let women die when they had the means to stop it. In 1865, his colleagues had him committed to a mental asylum. He died there 14 days later at 47. The official cause of death was septicemia, a blood infection, likely from a wound on his hand. He died of the same disease he had spent his life trying to prevent. Catherine Schulz spent years studying exactly this mechanism, the way intelligent people in good faith construct airtight cases against evidence that threatens what they already know. She illustrated her theory in her book, Being Wrong. You can listen to the book for free through the link below if you want to understand why being wrong so rarely feels like being wrong. What happened to Semmelweis has a name now. It is called the Semmelweis reflex, which is the automatic rejection of new information that contradicts established belief, named with some irony after the man it destroyed. But the mechanism beneath it was described more precisely by the psychologist Leon Festinger in 1957. Festinger called it cognitive dissonance, the acute discomfort a person feels when two contradictory things must both be true at once. His research showed that the mind does not sit passively with that discomfort. It acts, it generates explanations, finds flaws in the threatening evidence, attacks the credibility of whoever delivered it. The goal is not truth, the goal is resolution. The goal is to make the discomfort stop. For the Vienna physicians, Semmelweis' data created an unbearable dissonance. Either their hands were not clean or their patients were not dying. And since both could not be true at the same time, they found reasons like the data was wrong, the methodology was flawed, the theory was incomplete. They were not lying, they were doing what minds do when the alternative is too painful to accept. In 1954, Festinger studied a small American cult whose leader had predicted the world would end on December 21st. Festinger wanted to watch what happened when the date passed and the world did not end. His prediction was that the believers would quietly walk away. They did the opposite. The morning after the failed apocalypse, the group began contacting newspapers, holding press conferences, recruiting strangers. The cult members had already quit their jobs and given away their possessions for this prediction. Admitting it was wrong meant losing everything. So instead, they decided it wasn't wrong. The mind will work very hard to avoid that particular conclusion. The Vienna establishment was not a cult. It was the most sophisticated medical institution in the world, and it did exactly the same thing. Two doors at the end of a corridor. Same building, same city. One of them led to a death rate 5 times higher than the other. The doctors who walked through the more dangerous door every morning were not cruel. They were not stupid. They were operating inside a framework that made sense and defended it against evidence that seems to contradict it. Semmelweis gave them the numbers. He gave them the experiment. He gave them the mechanism, even without the vocabulary to name it precisely. He gave them the falling mortality rate. They gave him a mental asylum. He died of the disease he had spent his life trying to prevent. The doctors who signed his commitment papers went back to work the next morning. They did not wash their hands.